Hi, everybody. Wanted to be able to take this opportunity to just discuss spraying a color erase media picture drawing you've done. There's some things that you need to know, and we can experiment here just a little bit and find out whether any of the things I'm going to say apply. And in my experience and shock sometimes, I have had a number of the colors that I used for my color erase, after I had it all just the way I wanted, to actually become almost fluorescent or very much brighter than what they were originally. So it really draws attention. Sometimes only 1 out of 3 colors will do that, and they become almost something quite different. But anyway, we'll find out what those are, and you can overcome it by just being very careful. And once you've initiated your spraying, then you can come back in with a little bit more and not have to worry about it. It makes it very difficult to draw on your color erase drawing after you've sprayed it. Some people think, well, I'll just set the color on there so it stabilizes. But we really work with the whole idea that we want to be able to remove and manipulate and alter our pictures. And color erase is quite fugitive in a lot of ways. So it lends itself to the technique wonderful. You just have to be a little bit more careful, because we can lift it off, we can do layers, change the colors, and all kinds of things, to a degree. There's a limit to that. But anyway, I just wanted you to know, so you'll have that one more advantage and not have a disaster or a discouraging conclusion to your drawing. So let's go ahead and take a look and see. This is the seascape that we worked on, and at the conclusion of that, I said that I would go ahead and spray it afterwards. I'm not putting my signature on there. There's still maybe some things I'd like to do, but you want to be able to have a test, making sure that some of these aren't going to become so vivid. It'll probably increase some of the intensity just slightly regardless, but I want to make sure that I can do it to a point where I'm not going to have it coming off. And so these are some of the things. You can use a precious toilet paper as long as you have a piece that you can fold and make sure it's not just a clump, because I want to be able to put my finger in there and then notice if the color is coming off on my finger when I just touch the picture. You can use maybe a cotton swab, except it's small enough that you could make a mark just doing that and then want to repair it before you go in and spray it in the final outcome. So what I've done is I've taken and I usually do have a sheet with at least some of the colors that I am testing, but I went ahead and I had different swatches that I had done just to make sure what color it was going to be, and they're not all in the appropriate order. If I had had the opportunity, I would have put this and then this and then this, as far as the greens go, and I would have put the blues together. This would have been first, this would have been blue, this is indigo blue, this is blue, and then this is the light blue. And I've labeled them up above because, again, they're all random, and I just wanted to take advantage of this piece. This is blue up here, and so we'll not be able to really separate that, although I do have a blue sheet here, and we can see what happens to the blue. And then let's just go ahead and cover up part of it and have this exciting adventure to see what happens to our drawing. I'm covering up part of it so we can see a clear demarcation between what's been sprayed and what hasn't been sprayed. And we want to be able to notice that the color can come off, and so that's where this comes in. And so we want to be able to just take this a little bit and just touch it. And you'll see the blue coming off. See the blue? Well, it didn't really bother this too much, but still, even just touching it, you can probably at home, notice the blue on there more. I have a tendency to need to exaggerate a few things. You can see it over the internet. But anyway, that's what I want to do at this stage. And then when I go ahead and I spray it, I want to be able to have my mask masks are really popular right now, as you understand. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Of course, it's going to just ruin my hair, and that's the most important part of this whole thing, isn't it? So, you know, it's not good to inhale this stuff. I don't usually have to put a mask on because I don't do it indoors. I go outside of my patio or something and hold the thing up by a corner, you know, and just spray. I want to make sure I hold on to it because I don't want it flying off into the dirt or, you know, on something wet or whatever. But that's what I usually do. And as I do that, then I can go ahead and I can take my spray and go across and then let it dry, air dry. Okay, let's just see what we could do here with this. This is my workable fixative. This is what I have found I like for my drawings. It works very well with this. And it gives me the opportunity, unless you spray a lot of it, you can get carried away and actually make it more electrocrystal clear or something like that. And make it more permanent. But I like to just do airy strokes with this. So let's go ahead and I'll have to change the camera just a couple times here, just a minute. Okay. Now I'll zoom back in so that we can go ahead and get that a little better idea of what we've done. And now I want to be, you know, about that far away, you know, from my paper. It's hard to tell that depth because I'm up over the top. But I want to always spray off to the side so I'm not spitting on my picture. And then I want to be spraying and then come in here and go just a quick little airy, you know, spray. Wait a few seconds or a minute or something, whatever you have patience for, and let that kind of solidify, and then come in here with another one. Just airy, not directly at it with that, you know, more condensed part of the spray, but just a very airy spray, and keeping that distance, probably about this far or so. You can tell that it's actually going on the paper. Okay, let's see what we've got. We didn't see any difference in that. There might be just a tiny bit, but let's go ahead and go to the other camera and see if we can tell. We can't even tell. I should have gone ahead and marked where the paper was so we could try and find out if there's a difference. Might be. Had it at an angle. Maybe. Could start imagining things. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we can do if we put a little bit more on there. How far we can go. Well, now you're starting to see it up here. That's because it started dissolving the pigment. Okay, it started dissolving it and breaking it down so it became more brilliant. And that's what you want to avoid, unless you're just wanting to intensify something. But this is intensifying the blue, making it a little bit, you know, bolder, but not much. But this isn't actually changing the color, and that's what can happen with some of the other ones. I keep, with this mask, I keep breathing, and it goes up out of my mask and onto my glasses and fogs them up. Okay, well, let's go over here and just do this part, and we'll just do it. Oh, let's see. Let's just take a very light, airy stroke. Oh, I better do it the other way. Now, just be patient with me because I've got to run all these cameras myself here, so. Now, I want to let that, dry a little bit. And sometimes I can take my drawing and just, wave it in the air a little bit like that. But now I want to see if I am going to pick up any. Let's see if we picked up any over here. Oh, ever so slightly. So see, that means I should probably do it once again. This is what I originally did before we ever sprayed anything. And this is when I know I have enough on there. So if you're patient, you can put some light coverage, maybe 3 or 4 times, letting it dry in between each time. Let's see what happens over here. Yeah, see, that's coming off. And so we do want to put more on here, and that's going to probably intensify this. So let's just see what we can do. Trying to dry it out a little bit. On here, it's going to be easy for us to be able to, actually maybe put a little more on, because we're trying to make sure that I'm demonstrating it. But look at that line left. For the most part, the line through here left, because this is dissolved a little bit, and it's equalized with that first part. Remember the one that was a little bit darker over there. Nothing came up on that one. Nothing came up on that one. And that's what you want to be able to become aware of. So you want to be able to test enough, if you're not experienced at it, that it is just to the place where you're not lifting any off. And you don't want to test it until it's dry. Okay? Yeah, nothing's coming off. Great. Okay. Now let's go ahead and go to this test sheet and see if any of the other colors do something different. I'm going to take this away. Let's go ahead and use this paper again. And let's cover that up. I've got enough pieces here. We can just have a little bit more fun than that. Okay. Now, the one that is really, in my experience, changing is something like this, maybe this one. And they just become very brilliant. But I don't have a whole lot of this underneath there, so okay, let's take another one. Let it dry. Let's see if we have enough on there that we don't have to spray it anymore. We'll test a few of the colors. I'm going to thin this down, it's too thick. A little bit comes off on that one. No, we need another coat. Maybe 2. We'll see. Yeah, my glasses are fogging up again from my breathing. And so I ended up by moving that. A little bit comes off. Not on that one, only on that one. Comes off a little bit on that. Okay, I'll show you. You can see where that Tuscan red came off on there, and the blue came off on there, if you can see. And so let's go ahead and now see if there's any difference. There isn't. Let's go ahead and do another one until that doesn't come off anymore. So what I would do is try and do the minimal amount. This is still coming off. Some of the colors will and some of them won't. They're harder to seal up. Yeah, these are all coming off. There's probably quite a buildup. I don't think that one came off, but yeah, it did. All right. So let's go ahead and do some more. So evidently, I am doing it airy enough that I'm not breaking it down, and it's staying visually the same, and we're gradually sealing it up. Sorry, everything takes time. But it's sure better than doing your drawing over. Okay. Now the reason I wanted to be able to have that separate, one half and the other half, there, that doesn't come off anymore. Let's see about this one. Nope, it doesn't come off. It's sealed. That's about the third time. But if you take several tries, even with your finished picture, I mean, this is just trying to give you an idea. Be patient. Put a little bit on at a time until it doesn't come off. But not so much spray that it actually alters the color or makes it more brilliant. Let's see if we can make that more brilliant by giving it some more saturation. See what happens when I just don't care. I'll go ahead and get farther away. So I'm just going to go ahead and now just spray liberally. Oh, I'm going to make sure this doesn't come off. Doo-dah, doo-dah. And if we find out that it doesn't change the color much, we just learn something else. But it's always worth experimenting so it doesn't undo your hard work. You can tell that that's getting more intense. Okay. Yep. There we go. Let me go ahead and get in here a little closer. Yeah, so you can see now, that line has moved a little bit because I had the paper maybe in a little different place. If I was going to come in here and actually make some more, then I would notice even a little bit more until at some point it is stationary. It's what do you want to call it? Stable. And it not anymore is going to make a difference. Now, with these colors that we have in this drawing, that's the results of this. There are some other ones that could end up by being more brilliant. And so you want to make sure that you're allowing for that possibility, because some of these you may not mind it that much better. Look at the difference in the saturation. And yet it didn't change the yellow a whole lot. The terracotta didn't change a whole lot. But it seems to have affected everyone, at least on some level. And so I just think that we are going to do okay spraying this one if you be careful and don't just come in there. Now see, I did a heavier spray on this lower half after I had already sprayed it a couple times the other way. I think, didn't I? Yeah. And maybe not, but anyway. That was that liberal spraying and the very light, airy spraying. At some point, this becomes stable, and it won't become like this, even though you keep spraying it. So anyway, now you know the workable fixative. Krylon, Blair, there's several companies that make it. I would try nothing else. I don't care what anybody tells you. You want to go with one you know works, not with somebody's guess, unless you do some experimenting. But some people use hairspray, they do all kinds of things, and I would not. So even though some of them say, oh, it's good for this and that and all that different stuff, it's only because of my trial and error and using it over a long period of time that I'm willing to go ahead and have this be my choice. And that's not bad. In fact, it actually filled in some of those white areas just a little bit. So you can see that it must have dissolved to a degree. And I wish I could do even more experimenting and find out, what the makeup of what we call the lead, but it isn't lead at all, whatever that material is they use for what we call the lead is made up of. It's not a wax, and it's not a couple of other things that they use in some of the modern pencils. So okay. So anyway, now that we've tested, I feel better, and I could come in here and now do my actual drawing, which I'm just not going to do. I'm quite sure that everything is going to be very stable on here, but I still want to do those light, airy strokes. Just breathe it on. Kind of like what I talk about in the pencil. Just breathe it on. Let it dry, Then come in there and do it again. Test it. Test it with, you could use a tissue, or you could use a cotton ball, or whatever is going to give you the surface that you're going to be able to see the color on there. And naturally, that's going to be white probably. But anyway, you just don't want everything to start filling in because of it dissolving one color into another. And yet it might help some of this to become more intense. I have a little bit more work I would like to do, and maybe it's not even worth it. I think that often and then never get to it, so it may not happen. But anyway, there's our sample, and if you want, I can scan this in and include it in the supplement. So this is the supplement to the our supplement to the Seascape project, and I enjoyed it. It was difficult, challenging, and for me, as having the opportunity to encourage you to do something, I don't want to always encourage you to just do the easiest things. You'll never be strong enough and confident enough to challenge some of those other drawings that you may not be so confident over. It's nice to know what the outcome is going to be to the best of your ability. Art is very, it changes, and it isn't always going to be the same. And so I just encourage you to make your changes before. Clean it up. On the outer edges, clean up that white, because if you spray it, it's going to be there, and you won't be able to work this picture in the same way anymore. It's all fixed to the paper now. And so thinking, well, I'll just spray it now and continue on later, it just isn't the best idea. Although, there's always a special circumstance, and if you don't want to have to worry about that color constantly changing, I was having to touch it up, and you were having to do it probably too. But a finger or even the edge of a paper, your reference or whatever, can just change that color a little bit. So I had to keep going in over and over and refining and just touch that pencil into those areas. And hopefully it was going to be, something that was going to have a good outcome. I think it did. So I'm glad you joined me, and you made such a great effort to, draw it and follow along. and took some of my advice and made some great improvements along the way. And just thank you. I'm always appreciative of you drawing with me and having this privilege of maybe showing you a few things so you can have more fun drawing. We'll see you. Bye-bye.